We ready? We'll call this meeting to order.
All rise. Oh yes, this county commission meeting of Sumner County is now open pursuant to adjournment. God bless this country and this honorable commission. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Weatherford. Before we go to our invocation, before I introduce our preacher, I'm going to ask Commissioner Chris Taylor, and I think probably Commissioner Wright, you may want to join Commissioner Taylor here, and Commissioner Guthrie as well, I think.
We just want to bring everyone's attention the passing of Dwayne Wright. He had just had 35 years of service, retired last year, was a beloved SRO and a member of law enforcement here in Sumner County, and just wanted to raise up him and his existing family in prayer. So if y'all just bow your heads for a second. Lord, we praise you and thank you so much for his service. We thank you, Lord, for his stewardship and his giving heart and just the love he showed in each and every day in our school system and with our children, Father. I just ask that you please bless him. Those that are left behind, Lord, and you just bring your grace and love upon all of them. We ask that you finally look back on him, Lord, and you just enlighten all those that don't know him, just walk in his honor, and one day, Father, to show his love and his caring for children. We praise you and thank you above all else for his service and for being with you. It's in Christ's holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank y'all.
Amen. We can never have too much prayer these days, and tonight I'll introduce our pastor, lead pastor Chris Rouse from Faith Church, 639 South Water Avenue in Gallatin. He's a graduate of Oral Roberts University who's had a glorious run here lately. You know, there would have been times where you might have had to explain where Oral Roberts was, but now everybody's familiar. So. And Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. The church has been his lifelong passion and has been the lead pastor of Faith Church since February 2012. He and his wife Angela have 3 children. He loves to lead and watch movies, playing and watching all sports, and is a diehard Kentucky Wildcats and Dallas Cowboys fan. And so we're honored to have you. Thank you. Yeah. You're fine.
This is my Cowboys thing, so you know what comes through here is extra holy, and but I'll take it off for this thing. Lord God, we do thank you for the opportunity to gather tonight. You are a gracious God. You've been so kind and generous to us through our lifetimes, through our years. Even when we didn't deserve it, Lord, you have provided your power and your presence in our lives, and we're so grateful for that. Lord, tonight I do lift up the fallen one here and the ones that are left behind, and for when we suffer loss and we grieve, that you are a friend, you are a comforter and a counselor in our time of need. So, Lord, we do ask that for the family that is grieving their loved one. Lord, for this assembly tonight, I pray for your wisdom and your discernment to be upon them, the things that they think about, the things that they say, the things that they do, the things that they act upon, Lord, would honor you and bring glory to you in this community, in this county. Lord, we love you, we praise you, and we exalt Christ in our words and our actions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
God bless you.
If you will join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's check our roll.
Roll call is now open. Each commissioner, please record your presence.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, Mr. Hinton's out of town. I don't know about Mr. Tinsley. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. All right, our regular and consent agenda are on your desk. Is there a motion? Hey, let me say this too. If y'all can help me out tonight, when you make a motion or a second, if you can just hold your hand up. My ears are suspect at best, and with masks on and everything, it makes it harder for me to hear. Because sometimes I think people are throwing their voices, and so I want to try to get it as accurate as possible. So if you can raise your hand, that'll help. Mr. Foster's got the motion. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Tucker. See no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, we've got our minutes. I'll wait for a motion to approve our minutes. Motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Graves. I see no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. For our recognition of the public, we have, oh yes, thank you, Mr. Rutherford. As we're getting the list, I'll tell you.
Anyone wish to sign up that has not already?
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford. As I call you tonight to come and speak, I just remind everyone that our rules of decorum are that you address any comments to the chair, and that you remember that the rules of the building are to, or the rules of the commission are to honor Sumner County with our comments and not to disparage any citizens, institutions, elected officials, but to share comments about a matter on your heart that's also on the agenda. We will have a special new feature tonight. When you come up and you will see it on the screen, there will be a 5-minute countdown. When we hit the 1-minute part, it'll turn yellow, and then when your time is up, it'll turn red. 10 seconds it'll turn red. So we're excited about that. It'll help as you're speaking. It'll help you get a little bit better idea about how much time you have left. All right, so I'm going to have Miss Karen Bookout. If you can come forward, Miss Bookout. It's 1006 Quailwood Cove.
May I speak?
That's fine.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Langford. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me a moment to speak. My name is Karen Bookout. I live in the Deshay Creek neighborhood in the county outside of the city of Gallatin, north on 31. There are proposed TVA routes through our neighborhood, in addition to a few other neighborhoods. Specifically, the proposed TVA route that would go through our particular area is part of a right-of-way that the TVA purchased in the 60s for the Hartsville Nuclear Power Plant, which we know what happened with the Hartsville Nuclear Power Plant. Consequently, that TVA, that right-of-way, has sat abandoned for nearly 60 years. It is a heavily wooded right-of-way. It contains precious, protected plant species, animal species, mammal species, specifically bats, and amphibian species. Last Thursday, we had Dustin Thames of the TWRA visit our area, and he confirmed the presence of the streamside salamander in one of the tributaries to the Deshay Creek. You may think, well, it's just a salamander, or it's just a flowering plant. However, this speaks volumes as we destroy more and more and more of our protected, sensitive areas. This is an ecologically diverse area, as many areas are in our county. The presence of the streamside salamander is significant in that the TVA will simply say, a $100,000 fine, we'll pay it into the mitigation fund. If it's an Indiana bat, which is federally protected, unfortunately, we could not confirm the presence of bats at this time because they're south, still south, not quite here yet. But the Indiana bat is protected federally. It is a very sensitive bat, in addition to the tricolored bat, the gray bat, and the northern long-eared bat. The TVA will simply say, presence of bats? That's okay, we'll pay into that mitigation fund, leaving, again, destroying ecologically sensitive habitat. Not a care, we'll just simply pay into that mitigation fund. In addition to that, by removing those trees from that right-of-way, the watershed in that area will be destroyed. What will happen if that watershed is destroyed? Homes adjacent to that right-of-way will flood. Again, the TVA states, that's okay, we'll pay for damage. We'll pay for any damage that occurs due to the watershed damage that we will create. Additionally, there are homes that were built on the right-of-way, within the right-of-way, adjacent to the right-of-way, that builders came in, the county approved the building of those homes, and the TVA still owned that right-of-way. Additionally, the Shiloh neighborhood, north of 31, if you're familiar with the Sideview Market, just north of Sideview Market, the Shiloh neighborhood, the right-of-way goes right through that subdivision, which the county approved. Caballo, I don't know if it's street, road, avenue, Caballo is, I believe, the entry road into Shiloh. It's in the middle of the right-of-way. Caballo is the right-of-way. The county approved this in the middle of the TVA right-of-way. There are homes in that Shiloh neighborhood where those power lines, 90 to 125-foot tall power lines, high-voltage power lines, will be 50 feet from some homeowners' doors, literally 50 feet. A neighbor of ours within the Deshay neighborhood, the watershed will just be destroyed, his home will flood, and he is 80 feet from the right-of-way. Our home values will be decreased 10 to 25%, perhaps more, for those who live in the right-of-way, whose homes are 50 feet from those power lines. They can lose 75% of their home value. And the TVA will not take those homes by eminent domain because they're outside of the right-of-way. They can dig those for those power poles and still let a home sit there. No care for the homeowner. This resolution, kindly, the Legislative Committee did pass this resolution, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful to Jeremy Mansfield for assisting me in the writing of this resolution. I ask that this full commission, please pass this resolution, and keep in mind that you as homeowners, I don't know where each and every one of you live, but please keep in mind, this can happen in your backyard, in your front yard, in your side yard, power lines over your homes, as will be the case for some of these homeowners. Even if your home is only within sight of these power lines, you will lose home value. I am asking all of us concerned about this route, proposed route, we are asking you sincerely to please contact, as we are doing, our Congressman Rose, our senators, and ask them to reach out to the TVA, please, on our behalf, and on the behalf of all of Sumner County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Bookout. Appreciate it. Mike, I believe, is it Vidal? Yes, sir. Mike Vidal, 201 Pond Drive. And Mr. Vidal, you'll have 5 minutes when you start.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say good evening to the full commission. I'm here in support of the resolution that's going to come before you to try to protect the Sumner County as it is. And what I'm going to do is talk about the covenants that were in Deshay Hills after the nuclear plant was abandoned. They decided, the owners, the developers decided to write some covenants to try to keep that property pristine. And so I've got them. They have been recorded in 1984 with Sumner County, so they're part of the official record. Let's see, I just want to talk about a couple of them, and then I'm going to read number 21, which I think is the most significant. One, you cannot subdivide. Most of the lots are at least 2 acres. Some people adjoin several. I joined 2 3-acre lots, so I have 6 acres, but I cannot subdivide. So that keeps multiple buildings, dwellings out of the subdivision. And I thought that was very important. I thought number 8 was interesting. I was just going through talking with Doug about it. Number 8 says, no noxious, offensive, or unlawful trade shall be conducted on such property. I don't know if they're worried about moonshiners or something, but that is part of the covenants. And so, but the one that I think is pertinent to the resolution is number 21. And it says, the purpose of these restrictions is to ensure the use of the property for attractive residential purposes only, to prevent nuisances, to prevent the impairment of the attractiveness of the property, to maintain the desired tone of the community, and thereby to secure each site owner the full benefit and enjoyment of his or her home and or tract of land, with no greater restriction upon the free and undisturbed use of said home than is necessary to ensure the same advantage to the other landowners. That I thought was really significant, and I do again want to point out that this has been recorded with the recorder here in Sumner County, and again, I stand in support for the resolution. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vidal. All right, Ms. Laura Kasmerk. I'm sorry if I mispronounced. Okay, thank you. From 1091 Kabbalah Trail.
Hi, my name is Laura. I live at 1091 Caballo in Shiloh. We will be affected greatly if the TVA chooses to go through our route. My house will be 50 feet from double metal poles, 100 feet up in the air, double wires. We bought from the builder. We were told it was an abandoned easement. That's why he could build so close to all these. The TVA usually doesn't allow that close of anyone living to their wires, yet they're trying to put it through now because it's more convenient for them. It's going to be devastating for our neighborhood and our values. I can't see how anyone would ever buy my house if it went there. They'll drive up to the house and see those wires right next to the house, in front of the house, and they'll just keep driving because I know of no one that would go ahead and purchase a house like that. And we're pretty powerless other than asking you guys to help us, and we've been emailing other government officials. We've had a couple TV spots trying to get the human aspect of what they're trying to do, because it really affects a lot of us in terrible ways. We have toddlers living across the street, which absolutely is not good for them to have that. So I'm just asking you to please consider the human aspect of what they're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. This concludes our public comments at this time. Mr. Kemp, I like the timer. I think that's really, really nice and helpful. Thank you. Your veteran service report is on your desk. We have some certificates of recognition. We would call our meeting thus far, we would call that like warm-ups compared to what Hendersonville normally goes through with BOMA. So I know that our three BOMA representatives here would like to stay for a couple hours just for old time's sake, but without objection, we're going to let them go first. And so if I can have Commissioner Chris Taylor, Commissioner Jerry Becker, and Commissioner Shelley Tucker come up, and we can honor our Hendersonville alderman.
Good evening. I would like to ask Scott Sprouse to come forward, and I am proud to say that he was my alderman for many years and did a fabulous job. And so we have a resolution honoring him tonight, whereas Mr. Scott Sprouse was appointed alderman in the year 2000 to represent the citizens of Hendersonville, Ward 2. And whereas over the span of his distinguished service, Mr. Scott Sprouse has served as vice mayor, a member of the General Committee, the Finance Committee, the Public Safety Committee, the Capital Projects Committee, the Nonprofit Contributions Committee, the Resource Authority Committee, the Town Center Redevelopment Board, the Mayor's Ad Hoc Library Building Committee, and as a liaison for the Arts Council, the Golf Course Commission, the Board of Parks and Recreation, the Industrial Development Board, and the Board of Adjustment and Appeals. And whereas while serving the city of Hendersonville, Mr. Scott Sprouse had selflessly given his time and effort to help the residents of Sumner County and Hendersonville and has positively impacted the lives of countless citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session on this 22nd day of March 2021 that this body does hereby express its appreciation and gratitude for the many years of service and dedication to Hendersonville and Sumner County, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall be spread on the minutes of this body, and the clerk is to furnish a copy of this resolution to Mr. Scott Sprouse, and I so move.
Motion made by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Goode. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I'd like to thank the commission for this. I'd like to thank County Mayor for putting this together, and also like to particularly thank the chairman of the commission. I don't think I've ever had a chance to thank him for this publicly, but for years of being known as Big Scott and Little Scott in Sumner County politics, I was really appreciative when he was first elected, relegating me to Medium Scott. And I just wanted to say really thank you, and just talk, you know what it is to have the heart for service, you know. This body particularly knows what we have had to work with in Hendersonville as well. having to serve and being productive despite the presence of Paul Good. We worked through that. No, Paul is a great guy. He was a great honor to serve with Paul, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And as I was thinking back over the time, just want to say thank you for two things specifically. It wasn't too long ago where cities in Sumner County competed with each other, where cities, governments competed with the county government. And I'm very thankful to be part of a group of people, many of them in this room, who saw how foolhardy that was and realized we're all Sumner Countyans. And we started working together for long-term plans, dealing with traffic, dealing with waste, dealing with schools, dealing with growth. And then the second one, and something we still challenge with, you may hear from time to time, oh, I live in the city, oh, I live in the county. And it seemed to be that type of competing interest. And again, I'm very proud to be among a group of people, many of whom in this room, who realize it doesn't matter if you live in an incorporated area or an unincorporated area. We all live in the county. I appreciate the work that you do, appreciate the kind words of Shelley. She has just been an incredible representative for our community, for our neighborhoods in Hendersonville and this commission, and I thank you for your time. Anytime you ever need any help from me, any advice, any support, any questions, you know where to find me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sprouse. We really appreciate it. Commissioner Chris Taylor.
Dale, are you here? I don't see him either. We'll still read it, though. All right. Whereas Mr. Darrell Woodcock was elected alderman in 2012 to represent the citizens of Hendersonville, Ward 5, and whereas Mr. Darrell Woodcock has made a positive contribution to the lives of countless citizens as he served as a member of the General Committee, the Finance Committee, the Nonprofit Contributions Committee, the Planning Commission, as a liaison to the Arts and Council and the Personnel Board, and whereas Mr. Darrell Woodcock has gone above and beyond to serve the citizens of Hendersonville and Sumner County, and is to be commended and recognized for his diligent service and dedication to serve our community. Now therefore be it resolved by the Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session on this 22nd day of March 2021, that this body does hereby honor Mr. Darrell Woodcock for his hard work, leadership, and integrity, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall be spread on the minutes of the body, and the clerk is to furnish a copy of this resolution to Mr. Woodcock. I so move.
Motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Becker. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Becker?
All right. Mr. Bolt, if you want to make your way up here. Okay, I'm not doing this. Oh, man. All right, well, good deal. Mr. Andy Bolt, he was a city alderman in Hendersonville representing the area where I actually live as well, so I'm honored to be up here and present this certificate to Mr. Bolt. Whereas Mr. Andy Bolt was appointed alderman in 2018 to represent the citizens of Ward 4 in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and whereas Mr. Andy Bolt has lived in Hendersonville area since around 1987 and served as a member of the General Committee, a liaison to the Golf Course Commission and the Parks Board with integrity and professionalism. And whereas Mr. Andy Bolt and his wife Linda have a history of serving charities and the community, he's an active member of the Hendersonville Evening Rotary Club and supports the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Young Life, the Samaritan Center, the Salva Center, and other worthy causes, and it is appropriate that he be recognized and commended for his diligent service and commitment to all citizens. Now therefore be resolved by the Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting this regular session on the 22nd day of March 2021, that this body does hereby recognize Mr. Andy Bolt for his dedication and his leadership and expresses its appreciation for his commitment and exceptional service. I so move.
Motion made by Commissioner Becker, seconded by Commissioner DeWitt. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Well, I appreciate being here. I thank Anthony and all of y'all for letting us have this opportunity. Chairman runs a good meeting. It's noticeable. Appreciate that very much. Like you said, Linda and I have been active in the community for decades, and we'll continue to do that. We appreciate the community and have enjoyed living here, and we'll continue to serve, however it works out for us. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bolt. I meant to mention this as we move on to our next group. Mr. Committee, if you want to come on up. As we roll through tonight, I just want to remind everybody, I should have said this at the start, that we're very appreciative and thankful that our COVID numbers are dropping pretty dramatically, but we're still under a mask mandate. I would encourage everybody and remind everybody to keep your mask on while we're in the chambers. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Committee.
Neither are here.
Okay.
Brian Harbin, but I'd be glad to read them.
Yeah, let's go ahead and read them, and we'll honor them, and then we'll mail them to them.
Okay. I will do Mr. John Curley's first. Well, anyway, whereas Mr. John Curley served as a council member for the city of Portland from 1977 to 1983 and from 2016 to 2020, and as the vice mayor from 2018 to 2020, where he provided excellent leadership and outstanding direction for the city's citizens of Portland. And whereas Mr. Curley's family lived and operated a hardware business in Portland, where he worked from his earliest years before he served in the United States Navy and as a policeman for the city of Portland. And whereas over the span of his long and distinguished career, Mr. John Curley worked for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, then the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And due to his background, he always took an interest in the well-being of the local police department while he served as a councilman, as well as preservation of Portland history after he retired. And I'll skip the rest of it, but just tell you that Johnny Curley pretty much all my life, and his family had a kind of the first department store in Portland. After, I remember one time as a child being home on a snow day, and something happened in Portland, I don't know, but WHIN, he said that was the most exciting thing that happened since Curley's had burned. And it was a huge 2 or 3 story building on the corner of Main Street where the old Farmers Bank was originally, and they started out selling buggies, and so they've been a staple in Portland for well over 100 years, I'm sure, and we do appreciate, we always called him Johnny Curley, and we appreciate his service in Portland. And also, his wife just passed away maybe a month ago, and they do live now in Indiana, I believe he does. Okay, yeah, we will send this to him. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be spread on the minutes of this body, and the clerk to furnish a copy of this resolution to John Curley, and I so move.
Motion made by Commissioner Comandon, seconded by Commissioner Kruger. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
And then the other one, whereas Mr. Brian Harbin served as a council member for the city of Portland, Tennessee from 2011 through 2020, and whereas during his tenure, Mr. Brian Harbin served as council representative for the Alcoholic Beverage Board and the Fire Department, where he provided leadership and guidance to the citizens of Portland, and whereas today Mr. Brian Harbin operates a local used car business and works as a real estate agent and auctioneer for a Portland real estate company, now therefore be it resolved by the Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session on this 22nd day of March 2021, that this body does hereby recognize Brian Harbin for his accomplishments and expresses its appreciation for his hard work for the citizens of Portland, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall be spread on the minutes of this body, and the clerk is to furnish a copy of this resolution to Brian Harbin, and I so move. Second.
Motion made by Commissioner motion made by Commissioner Gemenden, second made by Commissioner Mo Taylor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
And I will say, we appreciate anyone that serves as a city councilman, gives of their time, and for county commission. I'm glad we do have good leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gemenden, and Mayor Holt, I'll commend you as well. I think it's important for us to honor in our cities those that serve. Whether we agree, disagree, or whatever, we can all appreciate the service to our communities, and I think that's something to be honored and respected. So thank you. I want to take just a moment before we move on. I want to tell everybody thank you. As you know, my mother passed away last Thursday, and I appreciate all the calls and cards and notes and texts and everything. I really appreciate it. I was thinking as we were reading through these, before my mom became a teacher, she worked at the White House Utility District. And if you ever knew Mr. Craner from back in the day, Mr. Craner was kind of a crusty old guy, but very politically aware. And my mom was a consummate elementary teacher, rule follower. And so Governor Dunn had bought a place in Sumner County and went on vacation and forgot to pay his water bill, and my mom turned his water off. And Mr. Craner had an absolute come apart when he found out that my mom had cut off his water, and her response was, well, he didn't pay his bill. So the governor came in and paid his bill very apologetically and got his water turned back on. Mr. Craner did not charge him the rehook fee. Yeah, they waived that for him, got him hooked back up on water. But I appreciate everybody's thoughts and concerns and prayers. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. All right, we have a public meeting. Take the gavel first, right? Okay. We'll call the meeting to order. Mr. Kemp.
This is on one.
Yes, sir.
Calico Jacks, PUD rezoning, Shay Helms, represented by Green LID Design in the 3rd Commission District. Applicant is seeking a rezoning from commercial services to planned unit development for the purpose of operating a boat sales and leasing business. Subject property is located at 2488 Sideview Road, Gallatin, Tennessee. Is on tax map 90, parcel 3.13. It contains 2.86 acres and is zoned commercial services. A copy of this notice is on file in the Sumner County Planning and Stormwater Department in the Sumner County Administration Building. Anyone having any interest or concerning this request is invited to attend the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. We have no one signed up to speak tonight from the public. We call public comments closed. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Motion made by Commissioner Graves, seconded by Commissioner Gemenden. I see no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Please show that Commissioner Mo Taylor abstained. And so there were 22 votes in the affirmative, 1 abstention. Mr. Tinsley's here. All right. 2103-02, Mr. Kemp? Or hang on, I'm sorry. We'll call the public hearing to order.
Harper Consulting rezoning, Kenny Harper, represented by Green LID Designs, 12th Commission District. Applicant is requesting to rezone from rural residential to commercial general. Subject property is located at 3201 Highway 76, Portland, Tennessee. Is on tax map 58, parcel 68.1, 69.01, 70, and 69.02. Contains approximately 2.2 acres and is zoned rural residential. A copy of this notice is on file in Sumner County Planning and Stormwater Department and Sumner County Administration Building. Anyone having any interest concerning this request is invited to attend the meeting.
I have no one signed up to speak on this topic. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this topic? Okay. We'll call public comments to a close. Is there a motion to approve this resolution? Motion made by Commissioner Guthrie. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Sullivan. What's that? Okay, Mr. Mansfield.
Why is this being rezoned from rural residential to commercial? Specifically.
Do we know, is Josh here by chance?
He's upstairs if we need him.
Do you know, Leah?
It's just a redevelopment.
It's a what?
It's a redevelopment. I mean, they've met all the
Is there a member of the planning commission that could address that for me?
Do we have a member of the planning commission that could speak to this?
There's two on here.
Can you hit your mic, Christian?
I believe this one was just to set up the zoning. I don't recall them specifically having a business in mind, if it's the one I'm thinking about. The other one was pretty detailed when we talked about the automotive garage, and it was a lot of discussion on the planning commission for that one. I don't remember this one having much of anything, because I don't think they had really set anything up for it, if I remember right.
Mr. Commended?
There's been no,
Yes, we have a representative from Greenhead Design that did the design of this, if we would allow him to speak and answer questions.
Okay. Yeah, without objection, we'll let Mr. Leith speak. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That'll be good. Yeah, you're good.
Thank you. Andy Leith, Greenland Design, the project representative. Also in attendance tonight are the owners. The Harpers are here, and we'll be happy to ask your questions. Commissioner Mansfield, I didn't hear what you had asked.
What is the rezoning for? Like,
Sure. So this property, for those that are familiar with it, essentially has been existing as a commercial property for a long, long time. So it was a commercial property previously? It was functioning as a commercial property, but not properly zoned. So we're just trying to clean it up. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Leith. Yeah, I think that's what we call Sumner County country for about 100 years or so. Multiple use. All right, any other questions? All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 2103-03, call the public hearing to order.
Lewis Head Commercial Plaza PUD rezoning. Lewis Head developer represented by Green LID Design in the 4th Commission District. Applicant is seeking to rezone from rural residential to planned unit development for the purpose of constructing and operating a commercial development containing automotive repair and services, financial, consultative, administrative services, general business, and communication services, general personal services, general retail trade. Subject property is located at 131 and 135 West Robert Road in Portland, tax map 72, parcel 35.06, 35.07, contains 10.1 acres and is zoned rural residential. The Sumner County Regional Planning Commission forwarded a positive recommendation related to this item to the Board of County Commission. They voted on September the 22nd, 2020. A copy of this notice is on file in the Sumner County Planning and Stormwater Development in the Sumner County Administration Building. Anyone having any interest concerning this request is invited to attend the meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. We have no one signed up to speak on this item. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? Okay. We'll call the public meeting to a close. Mr. Foster, you're first in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Some months ago, I was contacted by several of my constituents. And for those of you who are not familiar with this property, it's at the corner of 109 and Roberts Road, a very rural area as you're going into Portland. The residents' concerns at that time, Mr. Chairman, were primarily that they didn't like the nature of the business, being a garage going in right before their neighborhood. They thought that would be unsightly. Some of their other major concerns with oil disposal and grease containment and things, that they were afraid, most of them were on well water, and they were afraid that there would be some water contaminants. They were also concerned about the increased traffic on that very small and winding road of Roberts Road. I will have to say that the developer has addressed a lot of these issues and has had, at my request and others, held several open community meetings for residents to discuss that. However, there was a petition signed that the residents really do not want this type of business, and a petition was signed with 50 residents opposing this construction. So I, in my duty as representing that area, I'm going to vote against this project. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Foster. Mr. Commended.
Yes, to get it on the floor, I'd like to move to approve this resolution, and then I would like to speak on it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Commended. I skipped that step. Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner Commended. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Nipper. Mr. Commended.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a piece of property that is halfway between Gallatin and Portland on what I call the new 109, and it's the first development along that area. So the Planning Commission, we have taken special care to get this right, because anybody that comes after this, they would say, well, you didn't make them do this or do that. The developer has put in the plans everything that we've asked them to do. We've asked them to make it, I think, 75 to 90% brick and paved parking lots, everything that we have asked them to do that they have agreed to do. And I think it will be a very nice, and it's also a part of a mini mall like, a very nice addition, and for a first development along this corridor, and I think it sets a good example. Okay. And as far as West Roberts Road, anyone that it's a mile long, and if anybody's traveled it, you can see that it needs some improvement. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Commendon. All right. I see no one else in the queue. Let's vote.
The resolution is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. Fifteen votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? Sorry, 22 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 15 affirmative votes, the resolution is approved.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Camp. All right. You have consent agenda on your desk. Is there a motion to approve our consent agenda? Motion made by Commissioner Kruger.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ring. I see no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Your reports are from county officials are on your desk. Let's go to our favorite time of every commission meeting, notaries. Is there a motion to approve our notaries? Commissioner Chris Taylor made the motion, second by Commissioner Ring. Let's vote.
Notary applications on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. Twenty-two votes are entered. All 23 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? It is unanimous, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Notaries win again. All right, we'll go to committee on committees. Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, it's a regular scheduled meeting, March 22nd, 2021. We had one main item on the agenda. That's Airport Authority. Jack Patterson resigned his term in July 2025. County Mayor made a recommendation to Curtis Rogers and Daisy Casey. It was unanimous, and I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Good. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Sullivan. I see no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. I have two no votes, Commissioner Mo Taylor and Commissioner Jeremy Mansfield. Any other no votes? Okay. So it passes by a vote of 21 in the affirmative and 2 opposed. Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Equalization Board has a vacancy. Earl Fisher's alternative 2-year term is vacant. And we currently do not have anyone serving on that, and the county mayor is requesting that if any county commissioner would like to make a recommendation for someone that would like to serve on the Board of Equalization, to please let him know. As you know, this is the board that will meet every other year for the reappraisals, that will listen to citizens that want to oppose what their tax appraisal was, and then they help make a decision on that board. So please, if you know anyone, he does try to make this geographically fair, spread throughout the county. They can be anywhere in the county, but right now the main need is Gallatin. And that is just as an announcement, Mr. Chairman. And I got 2 other quick things, if you would indulge me, please, for information. I've mentioned this numerous times, but we're doing it again for the record, and that is the Resource Authority. I got 2 announcements about it. There's been lots of chatter about how much the Resource Authority is getting backed up and having trouble for citizens, and it's becoming a timely, more timely for people to come. There's one thing I want to say, 2 things I want to say about that, and I'm speaking with Mr. Ring and Mr. Gamenden that sit on that committee with me. And I got in front of me, just want you to know the tonnage that our Resource Authority, that's never had a rate increase in 7 years, that since 2010 to 9 years later, we have gone where, and I use December as an example, in January, from like 4,600 tons to 11 to 13,000 tons. That, in that span of time, is hundreds and hundreds of more trucks, and that is only going to go up. That's part one. Part two is what everyone in this committee has heard us talk about, is that it is coming right around the pike, if you will. Chairman Taylor with Mr. Long and a few others are about to meet with them on we're trying to expand the resource authority to deal with the unbelievable growth since the transfer station. And we are revamping a lot of it, just so everyone knows. I think Gallatin hears the most of it. That is underway. But again, as a notice for the record, this massive influx of price of how we're going to have to deal with this to get it revamped is in the coming months, a year or two. So I just want to make everyone aware of that, and that's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Good. Commissioner Mo Taylor.
Yeah, just for point of clarification, was it stated that there hasn't been an increase in the rate in years?
7 years.
I thought there was just an increase within the last year and a half.
In the tipping fees is what I'm referring to. We just had our resource authority this afternoon and it was noted by the board chair is that there have not been tipping fee increases. We do give discounts to the cities that participate in our in Gallatin and Hendersonville when they do.
Commissioner Graves.
I guess my question is kind of on the same line as Commissioner Mo Taylor there. There has been an increase. A minimum is $5 now, where it used to be $2 or $1. I don't remember what. And far as by the ton, there has been an increase also, I understand, too.
Okay. We can check that. Yes.
You just say,
yeah.
Just so everyone understands, a lot of what goes in the resource authority are commodities, whether it be cardboard, glass, etc. And what they pay out and what we pay out does change in the tipping fee, but the overall fee. But for clarification, I'll get something in writing from Mr. Wright to have Ms. Denon forward to the commission.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Good. All right. We'll move on to education. Mr. Sullivan.
Yes, sir. We had a joint budget education committee meeting. Dr. Phillips gave us some information. One, we were able to recommend reallocating some funds within the school system budget that the school board has approved to give all classified employees 1% one-time raise. Glad to see that they were able to find that money. And then a bond discussion for funding some school projects coming up that Commissioner Taylor will address in budget.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Highway, Mr. Hinton is out. Does our vice chair have anything? Oh, I think the meeting was canceled. Okay. All right. Thank you. General Ops, Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just give a quick update. Be looking for an invitation to the ribbon cutting for the new jail pods. We are hoping to get that out soon. We are waiting on a few last-minute punch list items, and then we will hopefully be able to invite the commission to come out and see those jail pods and hold a ribbon cutting. Also, if you're in downtown area, you can swing by the new Justice Center courthouse site and see some construction fencing up. So, exciting news. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. Emergency Services, Mr. Driver.
Yes, I don't really have anything necessarily from the meeting. I just hope everybody got out to see the new ambulance tonight. And I know we spent some money to put some new graphics on the other ones that we have, but I happened to see one of the old ones yesterday and looking at this one today, night and day, what will be able to be seen, be much safer, not only for the folks on the ambulance, but for other people driving down the road.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Driver. Financial Management, Mr. Becker.
Yes, Financial Management, we met a regular scheduled meeting earlier today
Just one thing, and it'll be on the budget committee agenda here in a little bit, just to note though that for the refunding and new issuance of bonds, we did approve of the professional services as well as reviewed and approved refinancing plan that Commissioner Taylor will go over in a little bit. It was not unanimous, but we did approve it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Becker. Legislative, Mr. Ring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There we go. Resolution number 2103-04, a resolution to urge the General Assembly to oppose HB 366 relating to the dedication of right-of-way, and I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Ring, second by Commissioner Kruger. I see no one in the queue. Mr. Graves.
Could I get a little bit more explanation? I was kind of out of town on this particular one, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Ms. Denon, can you explain that, please?
It's a proposed piece of legislation that would make the county responsible for some of the right-of-way purchases, changes that would be necessary in subdivisions, and the highway superintendent, as the body, was quite concerned that could cost the county money in assisting developers. So she's opposed to it, and asked that y'all do that too, so that we can send that to our representatives and explain that to them.
Thank you, Ms. Denon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Graves. I see no one else in the queue. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Ring.
Thank you. Resolution 2103-05, a resolution requesting the TVA utilize proposed routes outside of the Deshay Creek and Shallow communities for placement of high voltage power lines such as they do no economic, environmental, historical, or cultural harm to sensitive sites within Sumner County, and I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Ring. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Sullivan. Mr. Graves, you're first in the queue.
Mr. Chairman, I'm in favor of this resolution. This is part of mine and Mr. Driver's area up there. And of course, I was raised there. I've been around there all my life, pretty much, good or bad. But I actually owned a lot in Shiloh. And I don't know if a gentleman's here or not. That same one, 1039. Always remember it. We was mentioned pretty much as an old easement that came through there by the owner of the property at that time, and he said it probably, of course, it's got a cell tower in it too also, and I feel like the county actually dropped the ball in some ways of making sure that this easement wouldn't be affected in that subdivision to the citizens of this county, and that's exactly what has happened. I would have, if I'd still owned that lot, I'm one of the ones that been 50 foot or less, and the wires be overhead of all the houses around through there, and other places through that easement. I'd like to see that easement's been there since the 60s, I think the lady said, and that's correct. But I think there should be maybe the county mayor, maybe some of us too also needs to talk to the board of directors and the uppers in TVA. Now, whether they'll do anything or not, Beth Harwell is one of our, on that board of directors, and she's a local person that could help in that situation. They just like any other board, this commission, either one, they make the policy and the rules for these things, different things like that. And I just like to see the people helped in these areas. And maybe this is not the route they'll choose. Maybe it's other route. But you're going to affect citizens either way. Maybe this one's more hurt to the citizens of this county. But it needs to be, I'm sure TV's going to talk to them more and how much they'll do for them. But it's a hurt to our county. The growth, that's what I was referring to the planning commission and the commission letting these subdivisions go in and not have no oversee over these things, as far as the subdivisions part. But I'd like to see us maybe contact some of these people, not on our elected state and federal or something, too. So, but I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Graves. Mr. Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Citizens, had contacted all of us about this issue and reached out to me, and, I wanted to work with them and hopefully we can provide some resolution to their problems, because the main thing I wanted to point out about this resolution, and everything we do has a cause and effect. So this really started when, back in October of 18, when this county commission, about a third of us did not vote for it, but we broke a man's living trust, and we didn't know what was coming in. It was a kind of a blind vote a little bit. We didn't know it was a data center. But that really started a chain reaction of events, that the things that we did here caused something that would allow these power lines to come in and potentially ruin property somewhere not even near where we were discussing that. So, it's just a good object lesson to really consider what happens. I know it was stated earlier by a visitor that it felt that the cities and county work together well on things, and I have a little bit of differing opinion in that, just in the fact of perspective of really thinking through what is the cause and effect, and are we getting all the answers from the cities when we make decisions, or when they make decisions on our behalf that we're having to fund on their behalf. And so this is, hopefully TVA can do the right thing, or work with Facebook to do the right thing to help alleviate or mitigate any kind of damage to these people's property. And I think there's a great resolution for the citizens, and appreciate the legislative for agreeing with that. And I know there's nothing legislative we can do outside of just petitioning, and that's what this is just petitioning the state and the federal government to say, hey, would you please help these citizens and be considerate of their future? I mean, this is generations that we're talking about. So I really appreciate you guys hopefully supporting this resolution tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mansfield. Mr. Becker.
Yes, I was just wondering what the timeline, when is we received the emails a few weeks ago, and I actually did email TVA before their, I think it was February 22nd deadline, or somewhere around there. But what does anyone know? I'm just curious. When are they expected to make a decision on which of the routes that they're going to take? Does anyone know? I'm just curious.
Do you know that, Mr. Mansfield?
TVA here tonight, if you would, we could move to allow her to speak if she wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Sure.
Without objection, we'll suspend the rules. I'm sorry, would you mind coming up?
This is Mrs. Shannon Scott.
Yeah, Ms. Scott, if you could come. You may just want to come to this one. The microphone's a little.
Thank you. They're looking at, I think, there's several studies that have to be performed before any decision can be made. The public comment period ended on February 22nd. As y'all mentioned, we had several comments submitted, more so for Route 1 than Route 2. But yeah, I would say it'll be several months before a decision's made. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all. I was just curious about the timing. Thank you.
Going back to some things that were said earlier, we just passed a public hearing change on property just a few minutes ago, of where a business had been on a property for years here in Sumner County, and it was zoned agriculture. When I bought my house in Bethpage, there was a bank across the street from me, and it was set on agricultural land until it was changed to something else, and they moved it. A lot of this stuff, is exactly why we've been voting on rule changes, why these things are being changed in the planning department upstairs, why we're thankful we have Josh. And hopefully, I just want to point out that we are trying to make an effort to see that houses are not built in the middle of an easement in the future. But some of that stuff, through the years has gone by the wayside. I know this is over 60 years old. I know real estate agents told these folks it's never going to be used, it's gone, whatever else. But that's why it's important for us to have a good planning department in place, is to keep things like this from happening to people like this. And of course, I do support this resolution.
Just have one other question. Are there any other options than this current route where this easement is that TVA is considering?
Yeah.
I think really, we have a pretty firm precedent about the public. I understand you have great answers to everything. Let me ask, thank you. Scott, would you like to address that? Without objection.
You're asking how many routes? Is that, there are 2 that were proposed, and those will be the 2 that will be studied, the NEPA study, the environmental studies, and so forth. I'm actually not an engineer by trade, but.
There are 3, I'm sorry. I apologize, I said 2.
I'm sorry, yeah, the 2 that we've had the most comments submitted on.
2 that they have comments submitted on.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
I was just going to try to answer Commissioner Becker's question. Just 3, but I think the citizens were in a position where they didn't want to say, hey, you put it in their neighborhood, and no, you put it in their neighborhood. They were like, well, what's a third option that we all can agree and be towards? And I think that's the spirit of what this resolution is for, is like, hey, let's think of the outside of the box option that is the least detrimental both to the environment and to the existing homeowners. So that's thanks to the spirit of what the citizens were putting forth as that third option. That's what we're petitioning for, I think, in the spirit of. So.
Yes, just a reminder that this passed unanimously at the Legislative Committee meeting. And at that committee meeting, it was pointed out that TVA is a quasi-federal agency, and they don't have to, we're doing this because it's good for the citizenry, but just remind folks that they don't have to pay attention to anything we ask. They don't even have to pay any attention to anything congressmen or senators ask, because they're independent. So we'll do we're doing what we can do, and this is all we can do, but appreciate it. Thank you.
Delegation. I would encourage everybody to do that in addition to this resolution, is to contact our congresspersons and our senators to let them know where you stand on this issue. Okay. I see no one else in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, Commissioner Chris Taylor.
Yes, sir. 2103-06, a resolution accepting the local government recovery and rebuilding direct appropriations grant pending approval by Budget Committee. And you'll look, this was done to this evening on a short notice call for budget. What the reason was, we want to get these submitted before the end of this month and next month, so that way we can kind of get in the first part of the queue when they start divvying out the money. We've allocated requests for $1.97 million, $1,970,000. And if you look, it's $750,000 for public safety maintenance facility construction equipment at the emergency services location. There's IT upgrades for disaster recovery at the ECC building for $250,000. The $900,000 for hot mix for Miss Judy in the highway department, and $70,508 for capital maintenance needs for just current facilities we have. And again, this is money that the state is allocating to the counties. We want to make sure and put in our paperwork early, so that way, if there's counties that there's kind of any discretion, we're at least at the front of the line on that one. I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor, seconded by Commissioner DeWitt. Commissioner Steve Graves, you're first in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we've talked about before, and we begin to whip this, thank you, Mr. Mansfield. We begin to whip this mule pretty good about highways, roads in this county. Probably in cities too. I've been riding all over the county, cities, but the county roads are, no fault. They do a great job, the highway department, but they're really bad. We got a section on Rock Springs. It's about a mile and a half that hadn't been paved since about 10 years, repaved. And there's holes coming in where the tile is beginning to fall in, potholes, they patch them, doing a great job doing that, but it only goes so far. Some of these roads are becoming to be a safety hazard to the citizens and the people that travel this roads in this county. On this one hole is completely fell in. I went across it in my tractor today and it just about throwed me off the road. I mean, it's a big tractor, but still, and it's going to happen. And I'm sure they're going to get out and do some work to it. But some of this stuff is emergency stuff. It's different parts of the counties the same way. So I'm appreciative of this $900,000. But after this goes through, I know it's a different subject, not trying to change anything. By budget time, I wish we could look a little bit more somewhere, get a little more money for the highway department. Commissioner Hinton wanted me to speak on this, so, and that's my thoughts also. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Graves. Commissioner Mo Taylor.
Just because I've been asked, I'm going to ask. This is COVID relief money.
Let me ask for clarification on that. Stimulus money from the CARES Act.
It's money that they're giving, that the state's issuing for us, and they've got requirements for what we do and don't have to use it for. We meet those requirements. We're falling under the right guidelines. I wouldn't say it's just, it's not COVID related that it has to be used on medical expenses like some of the other money we've gotten before where it was very specific. This one is more geared towards just helping counties recover so we can get back.
Well, another question I have is us receiving these stimulus money, these grants or whatever we're calling them, this money that's coming from the federal and the state government, is this tied to these mandatory mask mandates? Does one help get the other?
No.
So as long as we keep extending the emergency declarations, we can keep applying for federal money?
No, I don't think that's how that works.
I think it is.
I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with the mask mandate. Mask mandate's separate.
But declaring a state of emergency.
Right, but you don't have to have a mask mandate with the declaration.
But it does enable you to continue
What
applying
I'm saying is that a mask mandate is not connected to a state of emergency.
This one is.
It can be.
Yes.
Mo, I think for this one, if you can apply for it, you can apply for it. I don't think it's contingent upon having a mask mandate in place or anything like that. This is something that the state's doing for, my understanding, all 95 counties. We're just jumping in line as quick as we can.
Well, I can see that this money has addressed some needs. It's also addressed a whole lot of wants that we got to keep up and maintain and pay for in the years to come. That's why they, the old saying always goes, you better look a gift horse in the mouth. Because a lot of this stuff comes with reoccurring expenses year after year. And just a little bit of dissatisfaction on my part with this, all this federal money that's being doled out and thrown out, state money. It's all taxpayer money, and somebody's got to pay it back. And what bothers me the most is to call it COVID relief. Who's been hurt most by the COVID? People's health and small business. And I just think we should have sent more of this money towards small business and helping our citizens instead of buying shiny stuff for the county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, that's the only thing that has, I voted for past two appropriations, but it is a cycle of without these declarations of emergencies every 7 days, we would not be able to do this. It's also my understanding from speaking with CTAS that that's relegated on, even tied in with the mask issue as well. So, and so we continue to put these declarations of money to get more taxpayer money, but, you know, government doesn't create money. We take it from somebody else to give it to somebody else. And so I wish the state wasn't doing this. So I guess my first question is, I'm not really clear after hearing some of these questions. I heard somebody say it was COVID relief money, and then I heard the finance director say it was not, or not CARES grant money. So I don't know, maybe we can have the finance director clarify what this is about.
Yeah, let me just get a clarification. Go ahead, Mr. Longing, if you can answer that. Or Mr. Holt.
Direct appropriation from the state, but it's all tied into monies that are federal monies. We have a flow-through state, and so for me to put my finger in exactly what the origin of the money is, I have no earthly idea. But it is related to public safety. So in some way, it has to be tied to public safety, and there's very strict limitations on how you can spend this money, if that makes sense. So for me to tell you what the exact origin of the money is, my pretty much guesstimation, it's a combination of probably some state surplus money, but a lot of it federal money.
Probably the most accurate way to say it is stimulus money from the different recovery acts passed by Congress and passed on to the states that they put together. So, I mean, it probably is a better way to state stimulus money as opposed to CARES Act or COVID.
Okay. Well, I definitely was against the previous administration doing their stimulus, and I was against this current administration doing their stimulus. So I just can't, with a good conscience, keep voting on these things every month. And so I will be voting no, unfortunately, even though there are some good things in here. But it's just a matter of that. So thank you.
Yeah, to clarify, in my opinion, where the money comes from, it comes out of my wallet, your wallet, everybody in here's wallets, and it goes to Washington. And then it trickles back down at a slow drip to the people that actually need it. And that's the people that was affected the worst by the COVID. And guess what we don't have in my area, in a lot of areas? Water. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All right, no one else in the queue? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay. I had Commissioner Motel, Commissioner Jeremy Mansfield voting no. Were there any other no's on the resolution? Two, negative, 21 ayes and 2 nays. Motion passed. All right, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, sir. 2103-07, appropriating up to $215,000 from Capital Projects Fund Restricted Local Fund Balance for adding a bay for service and a lift at 501 Odoms Bend Road for maintenance and equipment needs for mowing season and parking lot improvements at the Carroll Training Facilities, 1570 Carroll Road, and 501 Odoms Bend Road for the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. I so move.
Second. Made by Commissioner Christner, seconded by Commissioner Foster. Commissioner Bowman.
Yes, sir. Last year, we was going through the budget process, and we were budgeting capital funds. I was told there wasn't money to allocate for the water line matching funds for the grant. So where did this money come from?
I believe Mr. Allen was better.
Yes, sir.
Address this better, but my understanding was that we have to exhaust the funds that were allocated first for water before we can allocate new funds.
No, that's not correct.
Mr. Taylor, you and I can agree to disagree that we've done everything we can for the water lines this year, and this money is money in our capital fund that's allocated for this. If you recall, just about 2 commissions ago, or 2 sessions ago, we set aside the money for Sheriff Weatherford to have a maintenance employee set up so they quit using the inmates to service the vehicles and everything else. This is just a continuation of that to make sure they have full services.
But we didn't allocate the money at that time. And I would like to request from the finance director how much money is left in the capital projects fund for the fiscal year 2020-21.
Mr. Long, can you get that number?
before these appropriations tonight, there's about $2.5 million.
In the capital project fund.
Yes, sir. That's for the entire county and the entire year.
That's unallocated.
That's unallocated, but that's for any major stuff that comes up.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I was just curious about why this request is now become a need, I guess. What's caused for a new lift or adding a bay for service and a lift? I mean, parking lot improvements, there's probably, I don't know what's going on there either, but, so like a little bit of background to help me understand why it's now coming before us on this request.
Let me explain to you, commissioners. I know you don't get involved in it every day, but there's a lot of maintenance issues across the entire county, and that's why you put this fund in place. And I'm going to look at the chairman of budget and make sure that you're in agreement with what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
And the reason this fund's in place is so that you can have some control. I can't just take the money and just say, okay, I'm going to do a pet project somewhere. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So these monies were planned out in the budget. And they were planned in the budget so as maintenance issues come about, I can bring them and we can transfer the money out of this fund to specific projects. And that's the way this budget committee, and our finance director planned it. And so what this is taking care of maintenance needs. Now let me explain to you why another bay for the sheriff's office is important. First of all, they have a large fleet of vehicles. And you just approved something with a public safety maintenance facility for our maintenance on county general side. And if we do not service those vehicles, we have to take them to the dealer or some other person to service them, and the cost is double of what it takes for us to service a vehicle. Is that right, Sheriff? We do it very affordable. So we have to have enough capacity to work on the vehicles. We can't have vehicles out of commission because we've got patrol officers, deputies, that are out on the street, and they've got to have their vehicle ready and in good working condition. So we've got some maintenance issues over there at that facility and some paving to do, and that's the extent of the work. So this is not like it's something that's unplanned. I want to make sure that you understand that this is planned to use as maintenance, but gives the commission, because you're the funding agency, a little bit more control so you can see there's transparency in what the county mayor's office does, so you can see the monies are being used in an appropriate manner. Does that answer your question, Mr. Commissioner?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, one other thing, Mr.
No,
Chairman, there's 150 vehicles, and we only have one bay to service them.
That's good, thank you.
Terry's fired up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would remind the commission that either last month or the month previous, we authorized hiring a certified mechanic for the sheriff's office garage. Before all of that work was being performed, shudder to acknowledge this, by inmates. And so now we have a certified mechanic that will take a look at the efficiency and safety of the sheriff's vehicles, which in my opinion is a huge plus.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Chairman, it's a question. What all exactly, maybe the sheriff could answer, what all do we do? We have one bay now, we're going to have two when this is put in. What all, change oil, service them?
Right, whatever's needed that is not under warranty.
Okay, mechanical also?
Yes, sir. That's what it's for, it's mechanical.
And that's only for the sheriff's department, correct?
No, we do more than we do all county vehicles that are brought to us.
Oh, okay.
But we do, we have 150 vehicles just at the sheriff's office. And so we have two mechanics out there. One is certified now, and the other one is not. Okay. But like I said, we do several vehicles per day. I would say probably between 10 and 15 vehicles per day, and people are having to wait because we only have one bay.
Okay. Thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could ask everybody, we're getting close, we're on the home stretch, everybody, if you're not actively drinking, and I've been lax tonight, so I apologize, but let's make sure our masks are on. Okay, face covers are on. Thank you. Y'all can help me out, that'd be great. Mr. Wright.
13 years ago, I worked at the training division, which is right up from the garage. We had one bay 13 years ago. We had people waiting in line 13 years ago to get their car serviced because it had to be serviced, which meant the citizens of this county, while they were waiting, were not protected. We're not asking for a whole lot, folks. We're just trying to catch up. We're not even getting ahead. This is desperately needed, not just for the sheriff's office, but for the citizens of this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Mr. Tinsley.
So I would be curious, seeing that, because I believe that this is something that's really needed. A couple years ago, the sheriff invited me out to the Caro Road facility and showed me that, they basically do everything in-house. And I just asked Mr. Wright the same thing. They changed batteries there. They're doing oil changes there. Fluids, everything that we would take our car to, whoever, the dealership or whatever to get done, they're doing it there. They're servicing them in-house. And I think there's 150 cars is what the county mayor said. So I'm kind of calculating that through my head because a friend of mine's a mechanic and I know how many cars he does a day. And then I'm also calculating that it's not just like we're not having a car to go to work or pick up our kids or what have you, but it's taking a sheriff's deputy off the road, a vehicle off the road, somebody who is protecting our community off the road. And then if we're putting this off longer, we're putting them in an unsafe vehicle that we're not buying new cars every year, so these cars are getting older and requiring more maintenance. So to me, this is kind of a common sense thing, and the fact that we're saying, why is this needed is to me a little pathetic at this point. So I move that we go ahead and pass this and continue on with the night.
Once again, point of clarification. How many sheriff's office vehicles did we buy last year and the year before?
I don't know that number off the top of my head. We bought cars.
Last year and the year before. It's in this year, it was in this year's budget to buy a mower. So we are buying cars. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, no one else in the queue? Let's vote.
Resolution is on the board. Each commissioner, please report your vote. All 23 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? We have a unanimous vote.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes, sir. 2103-08, authorizing transfers between major categories for the CARES COVID grants. I so move. This is mainly.
See no one in the queue? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that showed 2 no votes, each other no votes. Commissioner Mo Taylor and Commissioner Jeremy Mayfield voting no. I have 21 affirmatives. Motion passes 21-2. Mr. Taylor.
Yes, sir. 21-0309, authorizing the issuance in one or more series of general obligation school and public improvement bonds of Sumner County, Tennessee, in an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $90,250,000 for the purpose of financing school projects and funding outstanding bonds for debt service savings, making provisions, for the issuance, sale, and payment of said bonds, establishing the terms thereof and the disposition of proceeds therefore from providing for the levy of taxes for the payment of principal, of premium, if any interest on the bonds. To say it an easier way, we are going to recall 2 of our bonds. By doing that, they were at a higher rate, or think of it as we were paying more for them. We recall them, reissue them this year at a lower rate, so we're going to be paying a lot less for them. It's about $2.2 million in savings right off the bat from that. Then we're going to also allow our bond people the ability to, whenever they feel it's the best rate, put out for bonds for the schools that we know we've got to do. And that tool, the two ones are, one is for the middle school that's going to be at Liberty Creek, and then the additional monies are for improvements to White House, middle and elementary. Yep. And the reason we're doing it this way is we expect the rates to go up this year. I mean, everything shows that it's already gone up. To put this, the mortgage rate's like, we started at 100, it's 170 now. So it's gone up since the beginning of the year. To put it in perspective, if we let it go up 25 points from the time we could have gotten it to afterwards on a bond this size, it's $2 million. So if we could refinance our bonds, just save the $2.2 million and then wait to do the school bond. But the problem is, if we wait too long, and we can't, and again, we've got to pass the resolution, go over everything. So best case scenario is about a 2-month thing from the time we said, oh, it's time to do them. They're starting to go up. It would take us at least 2 months. In that 2 months, however much it goes up, we're losing money because it's going to cost us more for that bond. And the way they explained it was, if it just goes up 0.25, it's going to be right at $2 million. If it goes up a full point, say from 1.2 to 2.2, it goes up $8 million. So that's money we would have lost already, all the savings we acquired by refinancing the bond, recalling and redoing the bonds. But more importantly, this gives us as a county the opportunity to issue the bonds a lot sooner, to get a much better rate than we would a year from now. And in addition, we're also going to be saving on the inflationary cost of construction, which is about almost 6% a year right now. So if we can start these, since we're in a position to start these a little bit early, we're going to save about $5 million or so inflationary costs right off the bat. We'll save the 2.2 and then whatever our rate comes out to. So it's in the best light, we're saving a lot of money. And when I say a lot, I mean in excess, $8, $10 million. Or worst case scenario is we don't get it out in time and we're costing ourselves $10 million. So it's about a $20 million swing. The people that are much smarter than me, our bond counsel, Mr. Long, and everyone else about it says the exact same thing. Mr. Dipper's got a quick point to make just about the bond market itself, so we can kind of, it's not just me saying it, but it's actually somebody that's doing it every day, and kind of, if you give us that luxury. A motion, sorry. Yes, sir.
Motion made by Commissioner Sullivan. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Kruger. Okay, we'll go to Commissioner Dipper and then Commissioner Taylor. What do you say?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was also going to talk about a little bit about the need for additional classrooms in the White House community, but you prefer I come back to that?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to share, I don't know how recently any of you have come to the White House community, but it's amazing the growth we've experienced. And as a parent of an H.B. Williams student, I can attest to the limited capacity in that building. So it's pre-K through 4th grade right now, and you all may be aware of this, but White House Middle School is actually 5th through 8th grade. And so my understanding is it's the only school like that in the county currently, and it's nearing capacity as well. And then on top of that, we've got about 1,100 homes that have been approved to be built on the Sumner County side of White House. So if you're familiar with White House, you know there's our community sits both in Robertson and Sumner County. So we're just talking about the Sumner County portion, of course, tonight. The concept of a 3-4-5 intermediate school, it's been very well received. This is something that folks in the community have been talking about for several years, and I'll, in the spirit of talking about cities tonight, I'll compliment the city of White House in their communication with the Board of Education and our Director of Schools. They communicate well when there is a large development that is approved by the city, and actually there are about 535 homes that are going to be built right between White House High School and H.B. Williams, and so that's certainly complicating an already very congested area in the mornings. And so, you know, between safety concerns there from parents that I hear about often, and then of course folks who are less than thrilled about their 9, 10-year-old children going to middle school in 5th grade. Everyone in the community that's reached out to me and talked through this is very appreciative of the foresight of the school board and director of schools for also purchasing this land years ago. And if you're familiar with White House Middle School, the proposal would be for this to sit just to the right of it if you're looking at it from Highway 31W. So it's a favorable site for that as well. And then just to try to echo what Commissioner Taylor was saying, if you're paying attention to the 10-year Treasury, you know, at the beginning of the year, it was trading somewhere around 100 basis points. Today, it's somewhere around 170. Some of that, of course, is artificial with all the stimulus that the other Commissioner Taylor was talking about earlier that's being pumped into the economy. So 70 basis points is partially artificial, but I think it would be safe to say that 40%, 50% of increase is what we've seen just year to date so far. And then, of course, we're seeing all the time folks who are engaging contractors at a certain price, getting a construction loan, and then getting midway in the process and having to come back, and sometimes having to come back multiple times, just speaking to the cost of materials, if you can even source them right now. And so, anyway, is there anything else to share on that? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Difford. Commissioner Taylor, Commissioner Taylor, sorry.
Yeah. I got several questions. And I'll start off with it. Just to clarify, because I hear different people say a lot of different things, how much money is the city of Gallatin or the city of White House contributing to this other than property taxes and sales tax? No budgeted.
Right. I would say zero, Mr. Lawley, am I wrong? Am I right on that? Yes, zero.
Okay. When we go through planning, I've seen the city of Hendersonville charge or be paid something like an impact fee. There was a development down there, I think even Norman Farms has some of that, so much per lot. The growth that's being funded for tonight, do we receive any of those type of fees? Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Taylor, you received the adequate facilities tax that's used to service the school's debt.
That's what I call the inadequate facilities tax, because it does nowhere near servicing the debt. I mean, that's why we're here. And I want, this is my opinion, and I think I'm entitled to earn the right to have my opinion. But if you live in the commission districts of 3, 4, 5, 6, and part of 7, the city of Gallatin is killing us right now, in my opinion, on development. We don't have managed growth in our county. We have unmanaged growth that's causing this. That's just the problem. You know, we're contributing some as a county in our planning department on chopping up land and giving, I think we give away the farm because we don't charge the people that's coming in here and taking advantage of our land and going back to wherever they come from. So we're giving away the farm. I got this, I think I started requesting it when we started fooling with the meadows. And that was gave out last week at that meeting. February of 2020 is when I first requested this. I think I got it in April. The copy that I got in April is the same as this, but we're talking about 2 different school years. So this would have been in the 2019-20 school year. This should have been for enrollment in the 2020-21 school year, but it's nothing changed on it. When can we get updated capacity numbers? Because that, while you're checking.
It changes constantly.
But we have a number that we had to submit to the state by a certain time of the school year, right?
That's right.
that has to be updated constantly, in my opinion, and kept in front of these cities that's approving all this stuff, that we're having to come down here, go and ask our constituents to pay more money, borrow more money. What is our, if this passes, and I'm sure it will, what will be our current, our debt capacity after this is approved?
Okay.
Let me ask Mr. Long to answer that. Without any growth or using any of the debt service reserves, and there's 20+ million in there, the capacity will be zero until the 2024 fiscal year. So somewhere in the mid to later fiscal year 2024, we would have pretty strong capacity.
Okay. How much, on that note, I'll say this. It seems like I remember in either the 2018 or 19 bond, we were told that we wouldn't have any more debt capacity until 2024. So we sped that up with this. I would say that's probably accurate to say. But now we won't have any until 2024, again.
I think the way I would say it is that we're basically, because we can refinance these bonds, or call them and then refinance them essentially, we're using that room to create the capacity to do this project with the still same timeline of 2024. Is that, Mr. Long, is that correct?
The savings on this helps speed up our timeline, plus we had some growth between that time too.
So the refinancing and growth.
Okay. Operationally, it was mentioned tonight that they put the fence up at where the courthouse is going to be, and I saw it today. So we know what's in the pike, or in the pipeline coming at us. But I don't know that people are actually stopping to think about what's actually coming at us. So you got 4 new schools here. Any guess of how many employees would be in these 4 new schools? Plus you got all the employees that will be increased at the courthouse. There will have to be increased sheriff's employees. So this touches many budgets. And we just raised people's taxes 2 years ago, this August. So this is the prelude to the kiss of another tax increase, in my opinion. And I'm entitled to my opinion. I get told a lot of stuff, some good, some bad, but, you know, coming from where I'm at, people don't, you know, they don't keep up with everything going on like I do. But there's one thing that I hear more than anything, and that's live within your means. Live within your means. That's hard to do. That's why they have credit cards and plastic. So I've been asked, I'm going to ask too, since September of 2018, after this passes, what will be the total debt plus interest incurred by this sitting commission?
Mr. Long, can you answer that?
The actual schedule is in the commission package. Your actual principal on your debt will be around, the estimated will be around $316.5 million. If you look back at the end of fiscal year 2000, the prior fiscal year, our estimated debt was somewhere around $309 million. So it's not, even with this new issuance, it's not going to be considerably increasing over time. Age, it will be around $97.4 million over the next 20 years.
So over $400 million.
Yes, correct.
Debt plus interest, because, you know, people get up here and say, well, we just owe $300 million. Well, if you just owe $20,000 on your car principal, if you go to pay it off, you're not going to have to pay all the interest. But if you pay it off over the schedule, you're going to pay a whole lot of interest. So you have to look at that as being part of our debt too, because we're committed to making those interest payments. every year. And it's substantial when you're talking about this much money. So what will our new debt plus interest payment be?
Mr. Long, do you know, it's 316 plus 97?
No, the yearly payment.
Oh, the
I'm
yearly,
sorry.
the yearly, I'm sorry.
For the next 2 fiscal years, the first one's 34.5 approximately, and the next is 35.3. After that, it goes down to about 30 million, then drops off to 20 million for several years, and then keeps concluding down to zero. But for one point, the estimated principal next year is 316. At the end of last fiscal year, estimated principal was 309. Our estimated interest is 97 million. Last year was 87.8 million. So your overall debt load, because of the amounts coming off and the refinancing, even with the new schools, which is about $52 million, you're not significantly increasing the debt load.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Long.
With that, and I appreciate your answers, and I appreciate the responses and stuff. It's concerning to me because of our citizens. We're just letting our county be chopped up and cut up in every corner. It's not just one. I mean, I'm not blaming, it's happening everywhere. You go out here and you got agriculture zoning, well, guess what you can do? You can stick an acre lot out there, and it's got through processes it has to go through, but that is what are going to have to pay for. And the people that's lived here all their lives that's trying to retire, they're tired of paying more taxes because they don't see any new services. When, just like the commissioner spoke earlier, driving down the road and the potholes will jar your eye teeth out. I mean, that's the only thing they would really see other than police protection or ambulance service. I mean, and, God hopes you never have to call another one of them. So it's just, they say, people say we've had foresight for planning and stuff like that. I don't think we have. If we borrowed that much money, and it's not 3 years yet. We're not 3 years. What's the feeling on the next tax increase? What's the time frame to fund everything that we're buying? Can anybody answer that?
Mr. Taylor, we're funding what we're buying right now. We don't need a tax increase for that.
Right now. Right now, we had the funds sitting in the bank to employ all these hundreds of employees at all these schools, at the judicial center. We have those funds sitting in the bank right now.
Mr. Taylor, we have the funding and the appropriate funding for the capital of everything. The operational costs will obviously have to be worked out because we don't know what some are going to be yet. We may have some projections on the schools, but I also know the schools factor that in when they're doing their budget and their personnel.
We should have projections before we come to this body and ask me to vote for millions of dollars of debt. I should have a schedule in front of me, and I'm not done.
Let's take turns.
That should be in front of me. Just like this right here should be, every year, twice a year, multiple times a year, sent to all these cities and sent to us. So people know what's going on and you don't get caught. We just built, if you remember, you were here, we spent 70, I thought it was actually $60-something million remodeling a lot of these schools. It's already at capacity again. Guild Elementary is one of them. I know because I sat and listened to people pour their hearts out to ask for more land not to be developed in that area because the schools are already overcrowded. So that's what we're facing. We're not just facing all, these four are here. You better be looking out. You better hide your wallet because we'll be coming for it before long. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Commissioner Chris Taylor, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing that's been brought up a little bit tonight is about the growth. I know that during the joint budget and education meeting and also it's on this chart that the director of schools handed out, I think there's around 1,200 homes yet or units yet to be done in White House. Gallatin has thousands of untold. I don't know how many they have left. So it really does come down, and the senior commissioner from District 8 had brought it up in 2018. I just kind of went back and watched some of the video from our last bond hearing, I'll say. The senior commissioner made a good point. If we're talking about growth, and we're talking about growth in people in order to sustain additional taxes for additional debt service, he stated it was like a dog chasing his tail, and that was a very good analogy from the senior commissioner. Because as we have additional people coming in, our expenses are only going to continue to increase. And the senior commissioner made a good point. He wasn't opposed to growth, but opposed to uncontrolled growth. And the problem that we really have here in Sumner County and citizens, or the cities like Gallatin or Hendersonville, White House, Portland, even the county, we have to learn that growth does not necessarily equate to prosperity. I've heard it said in city council meetings is like, well, we got to grow, and all growth is good. But I mean, it's a fact, and it's actually been said, growth for the sake of growth is the ideology of the cancer cell. And so there definitely has to be a controlled amount or thought towards growth. And one lesson, Sumner County is marketed as Nashville's North Shore. That's what I've seen on documentation from the tourism board. But if we're going to call ourselves Nashville's North Shore, unfortunately, Nashville's not a city that we want to emulate in any way or capacity. In the case of Nashville's growth, in their TIF and pilot incentives, that our cities are doing or our county's doing, like Sumner County's modeling those things, it's only led to Nashville's poverty. And let's be honest, at the end of 2019, Nashville was on the brink of receivership, and the state was about to take over their finances. That's with a decade of growth. Look at all that growth got them. Bankruptcy almost. Now they passed a massive 34% property tax increase, and because Metro form of government operates under a form of home rule, the citizens are able to do a petition to recall that, and they're hopefully successfully will do that. Talking about growth in addition to what's generating the schools, there was a citizen made a comment on a Gallatin News post, and I thought it was really good because Milton Friedman, who's a famed economist in the 70s and 80s, made a similar statement, but he stated, if we become drunk with our cities expanding too quickly today, we'll be stuck with the hangover of higher taxes tomorrow. And I thought that a very poignant and accurate statement for what we're going through right now. The senior commissioner from the 1st District and the finance director talked about adequate facilities tax, and I do agree that they really should be labeled inadequate facilities tax. I pulled some records. I had the assessor's office give me some numbers. Basically, just curious from a 2015 and 2020, how many square feet, I guess, did we charge the impact fee or residential adequate facilities tax of 70 cents per residential square foot? There's roughly a little over 19 million square feet residential, and I'm not talking about commercial because that's 40 cents. I'm just talking about residential because that's what basically causes schools to have to be built. And we brought in that 5-year period roughly $13 million. In the same 5-year total, the county commission approved approximately $240 million, including school renovations and including new money from 2018 forward. So there's a great chasm and disparity between, you can't say that we have an impact fee or an adequate facilities tax that is in any way paying for anything, because, it really comes down to, a lot of people argue, hey, when you're developing houses and building developments, that it's capitalism. Well, taxpayer-funded capitalism is not capitalism. It's called corporate welfare. And, a lot of people ask all the time, why should we have to pay for somebody else's new growth? And I understand the law director's made it clear several times, there's nothing we can do as a county legislative body about that because we're bound to the 1999 Private Act that created this adequate facilities tax, and we can't raise it because in 2006, the state legislature passed the County Powers Relief Act, and it does exactly what it says. It relieved the counties of their powers to act in regards to growth and how to manage it. And The only thing Sumner County could do is either get rid of their private act and be under the general law. That allows them to go up to $1 per square foot on residential. So in that same amount of time from 2005 to 2015, to 2020, let's say we would have had $1 per square foot for residential fees to go for debt services on schools. We'd have brought in $19 million. So roughly it was about a $5.9 million difference. And just my point is that we don't have a good cooperation, in my opinion, with the cities. The school board, in my opinion, does not cooperate or coordinate, or the cities don't coordinate with the school board, should I say, asking them, hey, if we rezone this property that's zoned at 0.92 acres and do high density and it's mass development, how's that going to negatively affect the schools? Well, to my knowledge, that doesn't happen, and these school capacity charts come up, and the cities don't get that. They don't ask for it, realizing that, hey, all we're doing is just creating more problems. And in 6 years, the gross 6-year school bonds are roughly a little over $300 million that Sumner County has done. And I saw in the packet, I think, and the finance director can correct me if I'm wrong, it says fiscal year when 2022 starts in July, that our total debt will be roughly $414 million in total debt. I know we paid off, I guess, have paid off $34 million this year on a debt payment. And so, there's just a lot of, our hands are tied, and I wish we could put a moratorium and say, hey, no, we don't need to be building anything else in these cities until things, and Gallatin residents are begging the city of Gallatin. I see these comments all the time, and other counties can do what they can raise their fees and to kind of slow down growth so they catch up, and they can lower them to promote growth, but we just don't have that option, and it really is killing us. And so, some of the questions I had that the senior commissioner from the first district did have as well, and I appreciate the finance director clarifying that it based on zero growth and not dipping into our reserves, and that our new debt capacity, I guess, when we can have, will be mid to late 2024, but it was stated earlier, in 2018, when we first went through this process, we asked these questions. That was the answer then. It's 2024. But what happened after that? We raised taxes, increased our debt capacity, borrowed more money, and now we're able to do more things. And that's why I can understand and share the concerns from the senior commissioner from the first district on when's our next tax increase. So I would like to know if specific questions about, the Liberty Creek School District, the new money bond that we're doing tonight is for $52 million in principal. I wasn't able quite to discern what the principal and interest was. I saw 62 million, 64 million, and like 76 million. So could I get a clarification on exactly what the principal and interest expectation is on the new money for those two schools?
Mr. Lawing, can you answer that for us? Can we go to another question and come back to that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
in the second
I believe generally it's 52 for the middle school, 17 for the additions to White House, if I'm not mistaken.
It's principal and interest total, because I know that was in there. I just could not tell based on the different sheets. There was a lot of things that looked repetitive, but small minor differences.
Was there another question, sir?
What was your next question, Mr. Mansfield? While Mr. Lawing looks for that.
I would like to know the answer for specifically the three new school Liberty Creek campus, when the middle school is built out and the high school, like what will be the operating expenses for that three school complex with staffing, projected utilities for, starting out with 2,000 students or 3,000 students. Why don't we have that number here tonight?
Mr. Mansfield, you have to, one, it's not like a straight up, when you build a new school, you're not just hiring all new teachers for that campus because you're moving students from other locations. So those teachers from those other schools affected will move based on head count. It's a complicated formula. Like the state has rules based on class size. Like for instance, a elementary class, or kindergarten class size has to be 20 or under. Okay, so there are rules that govern class size, so that's why elementary looks different than middle school and high school. High school can go all the way up to 35 with an average of 30. So when you move, so some of it will be dependent on what initial enrollment, because we don't we don't just say we're opening a campus this large and it requires this many teachers. We have to assess how many kids will be there. Like in Sumner County, in Sumner County schools, we do things by ratio. So we look at what the ratio, now there are certain things like you have to have a cafeteria, a gym, you have to have, like a lot of times you have to have a CDC classroom. So there are certain things where your ratios don't follow strictly, but generally we follow a ratio based on teacher pupil count.
Well, I know that.
Jeremy, additionally, it's been asked several times about operational cost. If you recall, for the past 2.5 years, since we mentioned these schools coming about, I've repeatedly said, don't count on the TIF money that we were getting back from Indian Lake when it was completed for anything but the operational cost of these schools. And that's going to be a big part of what's going to take care of that. And we're just kind of projecting ahead. So in case you're wondering, we have thought it out as far as, yes, we have the money for the capital costs, but also how are we paying for the operational? We know that it was $2.5 million, which was our portion. The school system also gets a portion of that back. And we've said for a long time, that's not going to be earmarked for anything but the operational costs of the Liberty Creek campus.
Yeah, and I think I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought you said $2.9 million last year when we discussed that. I can't remember.
It might be better than that. It might, different projections.
2.5, 2.9, under $3 million. So I guess
we've got enough we should have more than enough to pay for everything we need to pay for.
So on a.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Mr. Good. Operational costs are outside the parameters of what we're discussing in terms of bond refinancing.
Well, then I'm going to make a motion.
Okay.
I'm going to move to refer this back to budget until we can get numbers on operational costs to understand like a 3-school campus taken from somewhere else in the county that has 4,000 students or 4,500 students. How much does it cost to run that school? Because that is not.
I'm going to rule that your motion is out of order because operational costs will not ever be a part of a budget or of a bond refinancing. Like you won't see a resolution that involves a bond that includes operational costs because it's outside the parameters of what you do legally.
I understand that, but the problem is that the citizens need to know when we build a new school, it's not just about building a new school.
Actually, point of clarification, sir, I've answered that twice for you now. We've said it for 2.5 years that we're going to have the operational costs covered.
You're saying in generalities.
Chairman Langford stated that they phase in students. It'd be inaccurate because I'm sure if we gave any number, it's not going to be the accurate number for how many students you actually move in. It's based on their zoning and how they work things through. If you look at how Wilson County's done, every school system has a little different method. Wilson County has 4,000 person schools. They're high schools. They're huge. They only build a couple. When they did the Mount Juliet, when they just opened up, they literally just dumped half the kids in there. They had seniors, everybody in there. There's other school systems that have opened up and have phased, and I give you Nolensville as an example, where they brought in freshmen and sophomores, and that was it for their brand new high school. And they let them build forward. So the idea of having an operational cost for that is really unfeasible because the school system hasn't said how they're going to phase those students in. But we've earmarked money to cover it regardless.
Let me jump in here because we're way outside the parameters of the resolution. Mr. Mansfield, you can make a motion to refer to committee, but I can tell you that you'll never see a resolution that comes back with operational expenses because it's outside the purview of what you do in a bond resolution. Okay, are you making a motion to refer?
Yes, sir.
And second by Commissioner Mo Taylor. All right, Commissioner Ring, Commissioner Rhodes. Well, we don't discuss motion to refer, right? Okay. So a yes vote is to refer this to Budget Committee. A no vote is to continue with discussion.
All right, motion to refer is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. 21 votes are entered. Anyone not voting wishing to vote? Anyone wishing to change your vote? With 3 affirmative votes, motion to refer fails to carry.
Okay.
Back on the main motion.
Mr. Mansfield, do you have anything else after your motion?
No, sir. I think pretty much that's just what I was looking for, those types of numbers. Permit me, just.
Sure.
Do you know, I know this might be a question for Sheriff, so you can shoot me down. how many more SROs for these 4 new schools that we might need for the Liberty Creek campus in the.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Mr. Mansell, if you'll talk to the sheriff, he can give you a better idea after the meeting, but it's not, again, we're on a bond resolution, not on SRO placement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Ring.
Yes, sir. Just to remind the commissioners, we have 3 real responsibilities by state constitution and law that we have to deal with: education, public safety, and infrastructure. Today, we have passed resolutions to help with improve infrastructure, to help improve public safety. This is strictly about providing the proper educational facilities for our county. And it's not going to cost us any money because we're going to save money in the long run doing this. And whatever we save, we'll put back into it. It's not changing the time at which we can start borrowing money again. All this does is make things better. It's like refinancing your house at a lower interest rate and using that money for improvements on your house, okay? Very similar to that. People do that every day in this county. We've got to provide an education for our students. Yes, there are a lot of people moving into Sumner County. Can we do much about that? No. Okay? We can't do much about that as a county commission. We can't do much about how many kids are in the schools except provide more schools as needed. So I think this is a no-brainer. Everybody should be voting for this because it does not do any harm at all. It makes things better for our county. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Rhodes. Thank you, Mr. Ring. Commissioner Rhodes.
On the question.
Okay. All right. Okay. Commissioner Motaylor is the only one left in the queue. Okay. Everybody, there's no one in the queue that hasn't spoken. Okay. All right, so a yes vote on call the question is to end debate. It requires a 2/3 majority. A no vote is to continue debate.
Call for the question is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote.
Restate it, please.
22 votes are entered. Anyone not voting wishing to vote? Anyone wishing to change your vote?
Yeah. Okay.
With 18 affirmative votes, question is approved. We are on the main motion.
Okay.
All right. Resolution 210309 is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. $23 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 20 affirmative votes, the resolution is approved.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Commissioner Chris Taylor.
Yes, sir. Let me get you back on.
Okay, hang on one second, Mr. Taylor. Sorry.
Thanks, sir. 21-03-10, appropriating additional $70,000 from the general fund unassigned fund balance for increased autopsy expenses. I so move. I don't think we need an explanation.
Motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Stewart. Commissioner Taylor, are you on the queue for the autopsies? No, I was actually. Okay. Can we on autopsies or? Okay. All right. All right. You never want to declare a point of personal privilege on an autopsy. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Taylor.
That's because I forgot to do something before the debate. I was going to request that the entire bond document be read aloud and entered into the minutes of the meeting. So that wouldn't be allowed, would it?
No, it's in the minutes already. Yeah, it's in there.
Well, they can do it in Washington.
Yeah, and we don't want to be like Washington, Mr. Taylor.
Right.
I think we all agree on that. All right. All right.
Yes, sir. 21-03-11, appropriating $250,000 from Capital Projects Fund restricted local fund balance for audio and video upgrades for the Bethel Brown Commission chambers. I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor, second by Commissioner DeWitt. Mr. Hyde, did you want to speak about this? You were in the queue before and I missed you. So,
May I ask what this specifically is for?
This what now? I'm sorry.
The specifics of this expenditure of money?
The equipment? Yes, sir. Yeah. The IT director, we've had a number of requests from citizens when we have large meetings to be able to hear and see out there in the foyer and in here better. So the IT director is going to upgrade the equipment for better visuals and hearing, or audio, excuse me, is my understanding.
The number's up to, we weren't sure what number to use, so we said up to, but it's gonna go through general ops, so we're not spending too much.
Okay. Yeah,
Well-
could you speak into the microphone, Mr. Taylor? Sorry.
Yeah.
Pardon, go ahead. I see the county executive wants to say something. I'll defer.
Hang on, let me go, Commissioner Taylor, and then I'll come to the county mayor.
I wasn't going to speak on that, Commissioner.
Hang on 1 second, Joe, hang on. Commissioner Taylor, finish what you were saying. Commissioner Graves wanted to hear what you were saying.
I apologize. I was talking to Mr. Hyde, and I just explained that we had said it was up to $250,000, that we hoped it wouldn't take anywhere near that to put audio and video out in the hallway also, and that it was going to go through general ops and hopefully be vetted in that manner. So I apologize. I was speaking to Mr. Hyde, not on my microphone.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Hyde?
I don't want to make a big to-do about this and keep everyone here any longer than we've already been, but I'll just have to say that I cannot vote for this in any way at this time, because I feel like that we have so many needs in this county with what we've gone through, health and safety, water, you name it, that I could think of a lot of other things that we could put in priority before this. And it's not to say that this may not, in my mind, be down the road, but I certainly don't think that it is a good expenditure at this time. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hyde. Mr. Holt?
Mr. Hyde directed, Commissioner Hyde directed a question, and I don't know where this really generated from. It didn't come from my office. I talked to our IT director. It didn't really come from him, so I don't know what the original source of this was, but I don't know. So maybe somebody can clarify it. I'm sure it came from a commissioner or commissioners.
Yeah, I think I can answer this. I believe Mr. Mansfield and Mr. Taylor asked a question about it last month, and then we referred it. I think I referred it from the floor to general ops, and we ended up going to budget first to allocate the money to go back to general ops for actual plan to purchase. Is that? Okay. Hang on 1 second, Mr. Taylor. Could we get his mic on? Hang on 1 second, Mr. Taylor. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Go ahead.
It was, from my recollection, it was brought when we were on the Zoom meeting of the Budget Committee for January.
Yeah.
It was brought before the Budget Committee, and it was inappropriately passed, so it had to be pulled from January or February.
Okay, so let me rephrase. It was brought from the commission.
Yes.
And sent to general ops, referred to budget, or in the conversation went to budget first to allocate the money, then back to general ops for a bid and a plan to go forward. Okay? I think that's the origin. Mr. Becker.
I think I will withdraw my comment for now. There's been some information shared here that sort of helped me answer my question for me, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Becker. Mr. Graves.
Mr. Chairman, I'm more confused than when we started, but is this just for the commission chambers?
It's for the commission
Only?
chambers and the rotunda out there.
Is the TV on out there right now?
I have
Outside?
no idea. There's no.
It's only turned on when we have too big a crowd for here and we have spillover.
I can see now there's nobody out there.
Okay. There was a minute ago sitting out there on the bench, but.
Yeah, I don't think he was watching, Mr. Graves. He's waiting for us to leave.
How's that?
Yeah. Okay, Go ahead, Mr. Graves.
I was just going to say, didn't we upgrade these a couple years ago anyway?
We did.
The speakers were installed in 1990.
Okay, the speakers, we upgraded the system, but the speakers were last updated in 1990.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I believe in January was $250,000 that was an appropriate pass for, and went to February for IT communication or video stuff for the buildings, but I think this is new money in addition to that, if I'm not mistaken. It's a new request for different money, because I had specifically asked last month, did that $250,000 appropriation for cameras and everything else include the audio and video in here? Because I know when we had the Meadows hearing last August, the citizens were kicked out of the chambers, and the video and audio didn't work at all in the hallway, and there were dozens and dozens of citizens out there, and that was a huge problem. And so I think you've confirmed that this new money is to improve the very poor audio in this chambers, as well as ensuring that the audio actually works out in, I guess, the rotunda or the
Audio and video in the rotunda.
Audio video as well, but specifically, because I know people have a hard time hearing sitting in the back of this room what's even said through these speakers as we're speaking. Right. So just confirming that that money is, the intent was for the audio in this room as well.
And that's where it got convoluted, Jeremy, was initially when it came up, it was to do cameras for security in the building and the parking lot, because we didn't have that. That one was the one where we were adding extra commissioners to budget that month, and they shouldn't. And so when I messed that one up, so we couldn't do that. So then when it actually came in, the feeling from everybody was that we really just wanted to focus on the audio for here and there. So that's what when it went to general ops. So it started out as one thing, came in through another, and the one we're supposed to be voting on is, again, audio, video for in here, out into the lobby, and then it's the one approved by general ops. So,
okay, thank you. That clarifies my question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mansfield. Mr. Tinsley.
Michelle was ahead of me, I'm sorry. Again, I'm a little confused. I spoke with, I think, Gen Ops earlier this month. It was last year or the year before now, we formed an ad hoc committee where we discussed upgrades in here. And I think the number at that time was significantly less than $250,000. And somehow last month, $250,000 was, as Mr. Holt said, appeared on the commission floor. And I'm curious on, I've bought quite a bit of audio equipment in my life, and I feel like $250,000 is going to buy me quite a bit of audio equipment.
Yeah.
And I was curious, I know we said up to that, but I'm kind of curious on where $250,000 in audio equipment came from.
the original number started at 250,000 because that was the general estimate we had to do cameras, recording services, everything else for the entire campus.
So for the security cameras and in here?
Yeah, everything. Okay. And the idea was it was going to cover the parking lot, it was going to cover the building across the street. It would cover it because we don't have any coverage out there. So that's where that number why that number started there. But then as it went through, it was refined to just the audio video, but we didn't change the number because, again, it's up to. So I'm pretty confident that everybody in the room would not approve $250,000 if a bid came in for that, for just this room and the other. So.
I just wanted to clarify
the number just started that way, and it just, as the resolution changed, the number didn't change with it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tinsley. Mr. Holt.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reserve my comment before we adjourn.
Okay.
If you would be so kind.
Sure. Commissioner Gamenden has not spoken yet.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree we do need better audio out in the lobby and also in here, but the $250,000 is what concerns me. I have been involved quite a bit in the restoration of the theater in Portland, and for a 250-seat theater, we've had prices on video and sound equipment and lighting, and even with a $75,000 projector, all the speakers, the mixing, the video mixing, sound mixing table, spotlights, and all the stage lights was less than $250,000. That's what concerns me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bennett. Let's see, Commissioner Becker.
I'm back in
Okay.
queue, thank you. All right, so I'm a little bit, I guess, confused from, I've got the minutes up from last month. So we approved up to $200,000 for the Sumner County Administration Building for camera system replacements. And yes, it was clarified that that did include this room for those camera replacements. And so I think if that's true, I'm assuming that, well, I guess those cameras, was that just security cameras or?
Security.
Also, so that's okay. So that's all just security cameras. Okay. All right. So what we're talking about now is the other cameras, I guess the non-security cameras, and
I
then
think we're
audio.
talking more about the displays and the speakers and the sound system.
Okay. I'd like to make an amendment and, instead of up to 250, that we go up to $100,000.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Becker. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Mo Taylor. Let's see, Commissioner Taylor, Commissioner High, Commissioner Shell, do you wish to speak on the amendment? Okay. Okay. What's that? On the amendment? Okay. Commissioner Taylor.
And I'll speak to this room. It drastically needs it, some kind of, voice stuff, because you watch it on the computer and stuff and you can't hear people speak hardly. But my amendment is I want to include our committee meeting room 112 as well. So we can record our committee meetings rather than packing an aisle around that doesn't get used the way the resolution intended that it get used. It's not a problem anymore with concerns for early voting, because we don't have early voting in there anymore.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, that's not the amendment. That's irrelevant to the amendment.
Okay.
It's not part of my amendment. It's part of my speech to offer my amendment.
Okay. Well, give us the amendment, please.
My amendment is to include the committee.
Okay.
To put audio and video capabilities in that room as well.
Okay. Second. Motion made by Commissioner Mo Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Mansfield to add to, in addition to in here, add to the committee room. Okay. Ms. Shell.
Please.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Just to give a little bit of background of where we came from and why we're here. When we redid the audio in the chamber several years ago, we did not have an IT department. So that entire process channeled through GenOps. We sent out for bid, we interviewed different companies, it all went through General Ops. So when it was originally brought up on the floor, it was automatically sent to GenOps, to which I met with, when GenOps met, we all voted as a committee that we wanted IT to handle it. We've hired an IT department. That is his forte. It is not our forte, and we wanted it to go through IT. So I met with Chairman Taylor from the budget and said, can we just appropriate an amount up to, and that way he can bid it out. It will still come back through GenOps and back through just as it normally would for us to approve that. But I also had asked Commissioner Tinsley to come in and speak, because it was also mentioned that we form an ad hoc committee to rediscuss putting cameras in the committee room. I tried to keep the two separate because they're two completely different issues. When Commissioner Tinsley came and spoke to GenOps, because he was the chairman of the former ad hoc committee, I didn't want to reform an ad hoc committee to do the same exact legwork to come up with the same exact answers. After Commissioner Tinsley reported as to what their committee came up with, GenOps made a unanimous vote that we did not want to send that portion of it back to the full commission, because the outcome was going to be the same. This commission voted not to spend that money. That money is still going to be, well, actually, it's probably even going to be higher at this point, because it's been almost a full year since that committee has been there. So we, as GenOps, voted that we were going to bring this portion of it to the full committee and get that done first with our IT department that we have on staff to bid that out, to redo not security cameras, but just to redo video and audio in the chambers and in the lobby, and that's what we were going to focus on at this point. Once we got that done, if this body wants to revisit that issue, then we can revisit that issue. But we were trying not to merge the two, to keep them separate. So that's kind of how we got from where we were and why we did things differently 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when we upgraded simply the microphone systems and not the speakers, to how we're doing it differently today. I hope that clears up a few questions about it.
Commissioner Taylor, I need to make sure that I've got the right order parliamentary. We'll get to your amendment, I promise, but you amended Mr. Becker's amendment, so are you good with the 100,000? Okay, I need to clarify that. All right, so we're on the amendment to the amendment, which is putting a $100,000 ceiling on the resolution, and then adding the committee room. Michelle.
Sorry, I just want to say one more thing. I would just caution the body that if the body feels that it's important to upgrade the audio and the visual for this room, that we not put that cap of 100,000 on it, because I can tell you right now that it's probably not going to happen for that cost. There is a lot that goes into it, from hosting that audio, and these are long meetings. There's more that goes into it than just the equipment. So if this body deems that they want to move forward with it, I would respectfully ask that you leave the cap where the IT department suggested that we put it. It's coming back through the process. So it will come back through here after he bids it out. So I would just caution you, if that's something that's important, that you would not put that cap on, because it will delay the process of getting it done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Mr. Hyde, did you want to speak on the amendments, or are you on the main motion? Okay. Mr. Tinsley, are you on the main motion or the amendments? Okay, go ahead.
So when I was the chairman of the ad hoc committee and it was discussed to put cameras in the 112 conference room, I immediately thought of the voting situation that we have in there. And as a commissioner has said tonight, that we don't vote in there, which was a temporary thing, mind you, in the 2020 election due to COVID and the need to space people out. I will again remind people that when you are putting a permanent audio, visual, camera recording system in a place where people vote, we are infringing on their right to vote in a free and safe place, free of threats. And after talking to two former secretaries of state, one of Kentucky and one of Tennessee, I was both told by both of them that we would invite, I'm trying to think of how this was a lawsuit as a civil rights problem. So I think the fact that, again, a year later, after we discussed this, it was voted on not to do that because of this issue. And we are again sitting here a year later trying to do the same exact thing that we were told we can't do. What are we going to do? Do you want to put cameras in there and record the meetings permanently? Or do you want it to find a permanent location to host voting? Because at some point in time, the churches of our community are going to get tired of having us holding them up for our 2 weeks of early voting. And I think this is one of the most ridiculous things we've ever talked about here, seeing that we did this literally a year ago. And I just think we need to just scrap the amendments, go back to the main motion, and vote on it, whether we're going to upgrade in here or not. There's a lot of money that will have to be spent in here. The room will have to be somewhat redesigned. They're going to have to put buffers in here. There's a lot of equipment that's going to have to be bought, storage space. But I think to say that we're going to also now in turn spend money in another room where we just spent money on this OWL system a year ago is just ridiculous and wasteful.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tinsley. Let's see.
I'm going to try to reset everybody. I'm going to turn everybody's mic off.
Okay.
Excuse me.
locked up.
Well, I mean, they're working, and I can turn them on or turn them off.
Okay, do you want to just turn them on manually from here?
Let me try that with it open.
Just so we can move forward, if you will, do not cue your mic. Let Mr. Kemp turn you on. He's not on.
Has he pushed his button?
No, I told him not to.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess speaking to the amendments, and kind of thank you for proving our point tonight on some of the issues that we're experiencing here. I also was on that ad hoc committee, and one of the things that came up pretty easily about putting the senior commissioner from the first district's whole goal of doing audio and video or for recording meetings was to make it accessible to citizens who can't make it there at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. The OWL was an experimental technology which has not been successful in my opinion, since a lot of the committees don't get recorded. So, and it was a mobile software, I think it cost around $7,500 for the owls we bought and the computers we bought, originally appropriated around $15,000. So probably a little less than half of that budget still probably exists somewhere. But I think to outfit, if my memory serves correctly, to permanently make that committee room 112, I'll say kind of foolproof, where you just push a button, it records. There's no owl, there's no setup. I think it was around $10,000, maybe $11,000. I can't remember, but I think it was around that amount that we originally talked about before the owl was approved. So one of the things that was mentioned with the permanent system is it's easy enough to have a lockbox. Nobody can go turn it on when somebody's voting. They can be recorded. You can cover the camera. There are a lot of things that are obviously our IT department, which is very well staffed now, or our maintenance staff could do to take care of those issues as far as privacy or if early voting, or the county commission just can say we're not going to early vote in room 112 as well. So I didn't really see that as a concern, and that was brought up at that time as well regarding that. Regarding, it was not my understanding on the amendment to the main motion that we were voting to replace the video system in here tonight. As far as the system Mr. Kemp is using, correct me if I'm wrong, we're just talking about audio, speakers.
Display.
I guess I can understand that might be sound panels, as the commissioner mentioned. I'm not exactly sure what that exploratory would be. I understand Commissioner Schell's concern with the cap, and I understand Commissioner Becker's concern with too much as well. So I'm definitely conflicted on this, but just wanted to clarify a couple of those points and make sure we're understanding what each amendment is about.
My understanding, Mr. Mansfield, is that what we're discussing is not the system that Mr. Kemp is using. It's the audio and visual equipment. So
yes,
my
sir.
understanding is
Yes,
that we
sir.
want people to be able to sit in here or out in the rotunda and hear and see what's going on in
Yes,
there.
sir. That was my understanding.
And if we add the amendment, it would include the committee room as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's my understanding.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ring, and then I'll come back to Mr. Graves. Actually, Mr. Ring, if you don't mind, let me go to Mr. Graves because he was in there first. Go ahead, Mr. Graves.
Mr. Chairman, I don't understand where the 250,000 come from. Why don't we just get the specs together and put it out to bid and bring it back to this body and we'll vote on it? Is that a possibility, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, the resolution right now on the floor is to amend that to, like, the amendment to the amendment is $100,000 and adding the committee room. So we'd have to vote against that amendment to get back to what you want to do, Mr. Graves.
Because,
Or
Chairman-
Mr. Taylor would have to change his amendment. Let me go to Mr. Ring, and I'm going to go to Mr. Taylor because they're both in the queue. Mr. Ring.
Thank you. If I remember from the discussion previously that we had, that Mr. Tinsley and others referred to, one of the concerns that was expressed about having a full audio and video system installed in that room was that it was going to probably require an IT person in there when we held every single committee meeting. That is going to be, if we have to do that, that will be very expensive, and they would have to come there to operate that system. So I'm going to vote against this. For that and other reasons, I will be voting against this amendment to the amendment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ring. Commissioner Mo Taylor.
Yeah, we were just given partially accurate information in a grossly inaccurate manner.
Okay, hang on. Okay, go ahead.
It wouldn't require an IT person in there. And I'm not, I'm a rebel, and I'm going to go out there and violate every federal law I can violate by putting cameras in a room. No, I'm not. I remember being on General Ops back in the early years, and we used to delegate space within these buildings. Did we lose that power?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we have the say on what goes on in that room and what doesn't.
Yeah, let's get back on.
I'm getting on my amendment. I'm not off topic.
All right. The answer is yes. I believe that the county mayor could, he is the authority over the spaces, and he could allocate spaces as he sees fit.
Okay, but that, like I said, if I wouldn't need the amendment, if other stuff would have been carried out properly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. Commissioner Chris Taylor.
I asked Dennis, what would be the easiest way, since we're going through all this? And he said, I asked Mr. Carey, what would maybe be the easiest way about this? And he said very specifically, it doesn't matter what money you tell me, I'm going to bid it out, and whatever the bid is, I'm going to bring back to you. So I would like to withdraw my original motion, just let Mr. Carey bid it out. They're going to try and fix what they can fix. What they can't fix, they'll bid out, they'll bring that back to us, and then we can discuss it when we actually have the number, and there's really no need for us to go through all this.
Okay, let me see if I can hang on. Let's see if I can make this amenable to all parties, okay? Here would be my suggestion. We get a bid together to get actual specifics, as Mr. Taylor mentioned, and Mr. Graves mentioned. We're going to give Mr. Graves a hat tip, but we get I really wish the camera was on you now, Mr. Graves, but Mr. Becker's going to have to tip his hat for you. But I think my suggestion would be is that we get a bid, a two-part bid, one to do the chamber and the rotunda, and the other to do the committee room.
Second.
Hang on. Does that work? Mr. Taylor has withdrawn his motion, which kills all the amendments.
You're welcome.
So, Mr. Becker, you had a question? Can you, hang on, let me get your mic.
Make sure the camera gets over here.
Your camera's there. Now the sound is there too, Mr. Becker.
My only maybe hesitation with that, I mean, I understand it and I'm not opposed to it, but if you're looking for a new house, shopping for a new house, you got to have some guidance. Are you looking for a $100,000 house? Or are you looking for a $400,000 house or $1 million house? And so as Mr. Carey goes out and gets the bids, I think some type of guidance. I mean, we could make this a concert venue for a certain amount. And so anyway, that would be my only hesitation is this, maybe there's tiered levels or something like that. So thank you.
Clarification, sir, I've withdrawn it, so really we don't have a motion to be discussing right now, other than the motion that would let us leave if you wanted to.
Okay, hang on. I understand everybody's tired, but let me give, because I do agree with Mr. Becker that I think some clarity for Dennis would be helpful. I think he's got a good understanding. I think Dennis has a good understanding of what we're looking for. I think the number one, let me just try to summarize what I've heard for the last 30 or 45 minutes of our conversation about this. We want quality sound so that people sitting in the back can hear. We want people to be able to see what's going on. We want people to be able to hear and see what's going on in the rotunda. And then we want a secondary bid to see what it would cost to equip the commission room with camera and sound to do the same thing. And we would like that to be affordable. Right? Not like Titan Stadium or something, but or Preds game, but something that's reasonable. Commissioner Mo Taylor.
Did the second withdraw as well?
Once the original withdrew, the whole thing died.
There's no motion.
But it takes the maker in the second.
Commissioner Taylor, do you withdraw yours?
Oh, I withdraw.
Okay, the second, who was the second on the motion? Do you have who the second on the
Is there
motion?
anybody that doesn't want to be a second withdrawal now?
Okay, Mr. Witt was the second. Mr. Witt, do you remove your second? Okay, thank you. All right, so it's dead. We're done. All right, hang on. No, we're done. We're done. Hang on one second. Mr. Holt asked for a point of privilege. Hang around 1 second. Go ahead.
Come over here to Mr. Becker.
Trade places with Mr. Becker. Mr. Holt. Go ahead, Mr. Holt.
Commissioner Kruger tonight wanted me to convey to all of you her extreme disappointment. She left early because 2 commissioners in the crowd refused to wear their face coverings during the proceedings. She felt intimidated. She has a family member that is very susceptible to anything that's going on now. We still have a mask mandate. And I wanted to mention this to you. I know this is not an easy job, but we're here to do a job. We want to get our point across. But I've been down here a long time, and we've got a lot of people who've served here a long time and have a lot of knowledge. But I think as chairman, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to critique you a little bit, and I hope you take this in the right way. I think any time we drag this proceeding out and we get off of a subject that's a resolution and get into areas of discussion that has nothing to do with that subject, we all, including myself, need to be called out of order. And I think that was the whole premise of her being upset and leaving early, is that she never got a chance to speak and bring this to your attention because she didn't have an opportunity, because the discussion went off center, out in left field, off the complete subject that we were talking about. So I wanted to bring that to all of your attentions. I have the utmost respect for this body. I appreciate what you do. You got a tough job, but you've got to have respect for one another too. Thank you for letting me make my comment, sir, and I meant that in the most respectful way.